Greetings to everyone. This is Sasha here. Also, for us, it is a great honor to be sharing this time with you. And as the channel Lyssa has said, we unusually asked her not to prepare anything for today because normally, as many of you know, we prepare big lessons with lots of information. But today, we felt it was more important that we chat with you, let's say. One-on-one, so to speak, heart to heart. This session was recorded in the month of August 2024, so it's several months before you are viewing it. However, we do sense a little bit of, let's say, unstable energy in your world. And so our gift to you today, hopefully you will see it as a gift, is to offer you perhaps some new perspectives, new ways of seeing things, new ways of looking at yourself, for example, in the context of this awakening process that your planet is experiencing. We know that many teachers, many channels talk about this awakening process using perhaps different language. And our languaging, as many of you know, is that we see this as a shift from what we've called third density to what we've called fourth density. And basically what this has to do with is the type of consciousness that you experience. So third density reality in that way is the most separated from the source, in which you have kind of forgotten who you are and are going through a process of amnesia as you experience the wild ride of physicality. However, around the time you call 2011, 2012, and of course a little bit before that you were preparing as well, there began to be a frequency shift. Now, this is a frequency shift that is something that most species experience, but they experience it in their own time frames, their own timelines, according to their momentum of evolution. So for you, this shift coincides with the movement of your solar system in relationship to the galactic core. And there's all sorts of other, let's say, nerdy markers we can talk about, but that's not really what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what this shift means. Because as you are moving into a fourth density reality, there's a period of time, a transitional time, which is the time you are in now, that can get a little bit rocky. We've seen it with so many different civilizations. And yet, despite the rocky time, it is also a time of great hope. It is a time of great potential to awaken yourselves to the greater reality of which you are a part. And when that perspective shifts, you begin to see all these things that are playing out on the stage of the 3D reality to be, in a sense, not as important as the greater momentum of your evolution and where it is leading you. So the fourth density period of transition then is one in which you start to come home to yourselves. What does that really mean? Well, in our little chat with you today, maybe it might seem like we're rambling through different things that don't make sense, but we hope at the end you will see the bigger picture. In general, though, to make this transition to a fourth density reality, to a new state of consciousness, paving the way for you to openly make connection and contact and rejoin the galactic community, It requires different steps on your part for your own healing, for your own growth, and for your own awakening. And that is part of what we are going to address today. But first, we want to just talk a little bit about the Pleiadian involvement and also the involvement of many other extraterrestrial species who have been instrumental in helping you to stay connected to your galactic family, not just in this lifetime, but we are talking about the thousands of years of what we've called the sleep cycle. We'd say 13,000 years of sleep. Your extraterrestrial family has been hanging around in whatever capacity we were able to do so, to continue to help nudge your evolution and your momentum toward awakening. But as with any evolutionary process, it is actually a spiral, which means that at the very beginning, it can seem a little bit slow. But as the momentum of your evolution builds, it can feel as if things are becoming accelerated, that you are moving faster and faster, that every single day you're riding a bicycle, juggling plates and trying to talk on the phone at the same time. And just some random examples there, where so many things feel like they're coming at you. And how do you manage them? This is all part of this evolutionary spiral that is moving faster and faster, but also tightening or compressing the energy. And when energy compresses in that way, what do you feel? Well, not only what you feel, but what is happening is that things are coming to the surface on the individual level and also on the collective level that have been obstacles to your awakening. So those things, what are they? They include any unhealed parts of yourself, any unhealed wounds that you've carried, which have a tendency, as you know, to carry from lifetime to lifetime. The energy, the repressed energy of those unhealed wounds are coming to the surface on your world. You're seeing it in your own life. You're seeing it in your own emotional bodies. You're seeing it certainly playing out on the world stage. Now, we know that this is not something that is exciting or that you want to experience, but we want to assure you that it is actually part of this evolutionary process that most planets experience. However, some planets experience it with ease. Some planets experience it with a little bit more chaos. You might be surprised to hear that your planet is somewhere in the middle. We have seen other worlds that have experienced this alchemy of consciousness, if you wish to call it that, in much more violent and dramatic ways. Perhaps Orion comes to mind for those of you that know your galactic history. So let's look then at the role that we extraterrestrial guides have in the mentoring or the support for planet Earth as you go through this experience. Now, of course, there are so many beings working with you in many different levels of consciousness. So myself, Sasha, I can only speak from my experience and my team and how we support you. But please know there is support on so many different levels. And of course, as you know, we cannot do it for you. So all we can do is nudge you. All we can do is hold a mirror to you so you can see yourselves and course correct in that way. Okay, so for myself then, Sasha, and many of my Pleiadian associates, we have been really working intently with your world, we would say probably since around the 1950s of your time. So that's a long time, and we know it is before many of you were born. However, back then, the help was, let's say, very subtle, very almost like a test. What do we mean by that? Well, as many of you know, back in those times, your humans were offered by many of my people your assistance in the awakening process. And from our point of view, that is very much of a test to see how a civilization will respond. Some civilizations respond by welcoming the test and accepting the help, even though what would come after that is not just, oh, we give you the technology and everything is wonderful. It's that we help you grow, which means help you pass through the difficult initiations, if you will, as a species. But you didn't choose that road. Instead, our help was rejected way back then. Again, this is not a surprise. It happens very often with civilizations. It wasn't so much that the help was rejected, but let's say there was an agenda for accepting the help because there was a desire, as you are not surprised, to perhaps weaponize or polarize whatever gifts we could give you at that time. So you gave us your answer to that test through your reaction to our offer way back then. Now, I was not there at that time in that work, but there were other beings who were very active in this process. Therefore, we go to, let's say, Plan B. When a civilization is resistant and still in more of a violent mindset and wanting a weaponization of what we may have to offer, then we understand that the next level of work has to be done on the level of consciousness. And so, Plan B, if you want to call it that, began in the 1950s and, of course, accelerated all the way to current day. So Plan B has to do with the idea of helping you in whatever way we can to begin to understand that you are part of a greater universe and that these individual selves that you call yourselves, these individual people, are, in a sense, projections from a greater consciousness, a one consciousness of which all beings are a part. But this type of lesson sometimes is difficult to impart because the learning of this lesson, the learning of this truth is not just an intellectual process. The understanding of it intellectually is an important first step, but it is not where the growth stops. The intellectual understanding is the beginning, and then comes the beginning of experiencing that truth. Now, of course, everyone all teachers, all planetary teachers have different ways of imparting that truth. So the way that we do it, of course, is connected to who we are. And of course, we are extraterrestrial in nature. So our role then in the helping you to move from just an intellectual to a more visceral understanding of this truth has to do with providing you with experience through which you can then feel this truth within your being, thereby moving from the mind into the consciousness. And as your consciousness becomes seeded with this truth, your memory begins to reactivate. Okay, now that might sound like an easy plan B, and you might be thinking, well, it hasn't happened yet. Why hasn't it happened yet? Why hasn't it happened yet? Well, here's the thing. Whenever these types of truths of a higher frequency or a more integrated nature are imparted to a consciousness that is polarized, then it's almost, we're going to use an analogy here, it's almost like hitting a wall. So integrated truth cannot pass through the wall. So what is the wall? The wall is what you've come to know of in your world as the idea of polarity, and most particularly polarized thought, meaning this is right, that is wrong. He is good, he is bad. Good, evil. The attachment to those ideas keep you at a certain level of consciousness, because polarity is not the natural form of consciousness in the universe. It is only the projection in a physical reality so that you can have this intense experience that you wanted to experience to grow even further into the remembrance of the one. So that wall then, that wall is polarity. And if you look at maybe the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and all of those decades, yes, you were dealing with your own versions of polarity, but it was not to the extent that it is being played out on your world now. You are, in a sense, approaching Orion level polarity. And so in that sense, the red flashing warning lights are going off. Now, those of you who know us know we are not doom and gloomer person. We generally take the higher road of perception, and we're going to do that with this lesson today. But we want you to see what is happening energetically and what you can do as individuals to circumvent this, let's say, we're trying to find the most dramatic word. Let's just say if you don't do anything about it, you will be consumed by polarity to the point where it is very difficult to navigate out of it. You're not there yet, but it is on the horizon. And this is why we are talking about this today. It's one of the reasons we did not give this channel a preview, because we wanted to talk with you heart to heart about this. You are not doomed to go down the Orion road. You are not doomed to go down the negative Syrian road, because they had their own issues with this too. You are going to create your own road. But what you do today in this time of deep polarity is what is going to pave the road for your future. Okay, so when we are talking about polarity, the mind will first go to what is happening in the external world. this war and that war, or this political party versus that political party. All of those are external manifestations of what is unhealed within humanity rising to the surface and asking for healing. So you had a situation a few years ago, called a pandemic. And it was an opportunity when it first arose for deep, deep global unity. And actually, this is one of the reasons why, if you are to say from a higher level, why something like that happens, it was for the purpose of purging out all of this polarized thought and coming together as one people. However, after the first few months of the pandemic and the lockdown during which you had an opportunity to go into yourselves, the polarity started. The conspiracy theories started. The spreading of mass disinformation and misinformation started, all of it based on fear, all of it based on this habitual process of third density energy, third density polarity, needing to be purged as the higher frequencies are heating you up. And this is how it manifested. So since that time, then, there has been this more intense, conflicting, polarized energy that, as we watch on an energy level, is getting more intense and is getting worse. Now, once again, we're going to return to this idea that this whole process is natural for the shift from third to fourth density. Every planet navigates it differently. So now you are finally at the nexus point where you cannot cruise along anymore. You have to make choices, difficult choices that go against your habits and patterns from this life and other lifetimes. These choices will require you to go into the unknown, to try new things, even when the old, fearful, habitual patterns are screaming at you that it might be evil, or it's bad, or it's part of a negative global agenda, and all of that stuff you have heard over and over and over again. Okay, let's bring it back now to what you can do, because it all has to do with this wall you are hitting. And when you are able to break through the wall, that is when you will be on the road to the new reality. But you're not there yet you are so close. So what is that wall? How can you work with this wall on your own? And it has to do with doing some very, we don't want to say it's difficult work. It's difficult because it's not what you are used to doing, let's say. Humans have a tendency to habitually react according to the way they have reinforced their programming. So if you're on this side, then you view everything in reality only through the lens of that side. If you are on this side, it's the same thing. But we're going to show you here a graphic that you've probably seen many times. It's been on the internet, but it looks like this, where two people are looking at a shape, and one sees a 6 and one sees a 9. And the person who is on the 6 side cannot imagine how in the world the other person can see a 9 because it's so plainly a 6, and vice versa. And maybe they insult each other. Maybe they go on social media and attack the other person. We're making a big story here for dramatic sake. But the point is that each person is perceiving reality through a filter of their own wounds, their own programming, their own echo chamber they are in, their own hall of mirrors, so to speak. So what is being asked of you now in this time of awakening is to exit that echo chamber, to stop reacting, to stop trying to change somebody's point of view to see the six as you see the six, because that is not going to happen. Instead, what passes you through that door or that wall is the recognition that there is a greater reality outside of your perception. And this greater reality is an integrated one. So we have another little graphic here where you see truth here. Neutral, absolutely neutral, but projecting shadows that are in different shapes. So if you then allow yourself to go inward deeply into the part of yourself that is outside of how the shadows are projecting on the walls, or outside of how you label your perspective, you're going to see that there is one truth. And that one truth is why we are here to assist you. That one truth is that there is really only one consciousness in creation, looking through many eyes that are like fractals of itself. So this idea you have heard, I am another you, it is not just a New Age phrase. It is literal truth. Every person you see in your world, especially the ones that trigger you, are a part of you also. They are another actor on the stage of creation, playing a role, but the light or the consciousness is embodying all the actors on the stage. In third density, you forget that you are actors on the stage and you play your roles and you fight your wars and you kill each other and you judge each other. But as fourth density dawns, you start to get tired of those roles. And we feel you are tired of those roles, but you don't know how to get off the stage. Because every time you start moving off the stage into unity, someone drags, it appears to the ego, someone drags you back on the stage and re-engages you in the polarized drama. When you have had enough, when you have had truly enough, you will leave the stage for good. And when you leave that stage for good, you can watch the others playing out their drama on the stage, but you don't have to engage. Because sooner or later, they are going to get tired too. And as each of you get tired of the drama and you leave the stage and you learn to watch yourself and watch your consciousness for when you habitually move into those types of polarized thought forms, you then, and you choose not to reinforce them within you. It's like killing a weed in your garden. If you don't water it or you don't feed it, it shrivels up. And as it shrivels up, the light of your awareness, the light of your true consciousness of the one is birthed within you. So this is one of the reasons why, in our point of view, the idea of awakening and contact with your galactic family is so intricately connected together. Because as long as you are still playing the polarized dramas, or you are still having polarized thought, you will only see us as an extension of that polarized drama from Earth to the stars. You will see the bad guy ETs and the good guy ETs. We are here to tell you that when you move to that level of consciousness beyond this polarized thought, you will see the universe is teeming with life that does not play that game. You will see the consciousness necessary to move out and reconnect with the galactic family is one in which you have left the stage dramas behind. So we are here now reminding you of this. And with all that we have taught you in the last 40 or more decades, slowly preparing you to feel confident with exiting the stage. Because we knew this day would come when you are tired of it. And what is that term you have in your world? You're on your last nerve, meaning that you are so close to just ditching that stage forever and moving into the light of your being, which is your natural true self. So many of you then have been sensing this idea of extraterrestrial contact, what you call open contact, is right around the corner. And of course, you've heard from so many of us that there is no date that is set in stone. The contact idea is much more fluid, and it's much more dependent upon who you are and where you are in your readiness. And part of your readiness has to do with this whole sharing that we've given to you today. When you have begun truly moving through that wall and leaving the drama on the stage behind, that is when you will be able to sense even more closely our presence. It's not that we are sitting up there waiting. We are still with you, but we can only be with you as far as you allow us. If you still categorize us as angels or demons, so to speak, through the polarized thought, then we cannot be true brothers and sisters for you. So this is why this doorway that you are walking through now in the wall is probably one of the most important initiations your civilization will experience. We cannot do it for you, but we are cheerleading you, and we are asking each and every one of you to honestly look at yourselves and honestly and sincerely and humbly do the work that you need to do within yourself to stop the habitual categorization of them, us and them, bad and good, and go underneath that, get off the stage. And when you get off the stage, you will see that the same consciousness is animating all beings, whether it's Sasha from the Pleiades or Joe who works at the supermarket, it does not matter. It is just one consciousness in its myriad forms. So for those of you who love to do contact work, or what you call CE5, we ask you to, as you are doing your meditation or your contact work, that you hold that thought, that you work with that thought or that idea that we have just shared, that you are the consciousness animating all things. And that consciousness does not have a name or a label. It is simply pure consciousness. You would feel it as a human, as pure love. And this is one of the reasons why so many of you, when you've had extraterrestrial contact, have had the experience of immense, immense love. It's not just because we love you, because yes, we love you so much, but it is because you are that love too. You are love. That one consciousness is felt as love. So when you allow yourself to clear what is stopping you from feeling that, you will really and firmly feel you are on the way home. And then you'll notice that we're standing there waving at you as if we had been there all along. We will celebrate too. But the work right now, especially we would say in the next 6 to 9 months from the August time we are speaking, is a tipping point. It is an important point. Do not worry about what is happening out there and who is doing what, who is doing the work and who is not doing the work. Only make a commitment to work with yourself in breaking these habitual polarization patterns. And if you do, you add that energy to the collective consciousness, you change the direction of your trajectory, and you head the boat, so to speak, in the canal that leads you back home. This is how the importance of this transformation rests on each of you. Do not take the polarized bait. Stay in your center. Find your love and stayed there. And if there is anything unhealed within you, do your best to heal it. But if you feel you are not succeeding, most of all, don't judge yourself. Love yourself for the gift and the opportunity you've been given to awaken even more. Therefore, in closing, we will say, the awakening of humanity is not just an intellectual awakening. It is a recognition on the deepest levels of your being that you are more than the actor on the stage, but you are the light animating the actors. And that light is just one in all of creation. If you begin working with that recognition and reaching out to the universe for assistance, you might just find us to be right there on the other side with our hands open and our hearts widely embracing you as they always are. We want to thank you all for listening to our impassioned lecture today. But we were speaking from our hearts because we see what's happening with your civilization. And we see you are at that crossroads. We don't want to see you go into another path like Orion, another path like Sirius. You have your entire galactic family and the healed lessons of Orion and the healed lessons of Sirius and other civilizations too, all right there within you as the one light. Know it is possible and pass through this time with the love in your heart and the refusal to go into the echo chamber of polarity. And you will be amazed at what you can create. Also, keep your eyes on the skies, not just physically, but also open within yourself, because we are going to be reaching out a lot more in the next few months. Not we as in just Sasha, but your contacts, your extraterrestrial friends will be reaching out much more in the coming months. Thank you so much. We love you so much. And we see you are us. We are we. We are we. And we are one. Much love to all of you. Thank you, everyone. Much love from me too. Take care.